Welcome to Millan Foundation Conversations, where we talk all things community, philanthropy, and connect people together. We hope you enjoy our show.
Welcome to Millan Conversations. I'm Jeff Truitt, Executive Vice President of Operations for 𝗨𝗏 Team Nicholson, and your host for this episode. Today we have my friend Leo Millan, owner of Millan Enterprises and president of the Millan Foundation. And in today's episode, we are going to dive into Leo and Lily's journey to get to 𝗨𝗏𝗶𝗴𝗶, their family, and the story behind the Millan Foundation. How you doing, Leo?
Doing great, sir.
This may be the longest we have the opportunity to talk to each other.
Yeah, it is.
Quite some time. Well, I have the good fortune of calling you my friend, mi hermano. I feel like I know you pretty well, but today my goal is going to be to help others to get to know more about you, your family, your foundation, really what led us to sitting here today.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to hit a few simple topics. Mainly, we're going to get to know you, your early life, your family, your career, and what led you to where you are today as the president and as the creator of Millan Foundation. But you and I both know that any minute a rabbit could run through this room.
Yes, sir. Rabbit, squirrel.
Yeah, squirrel. And we're going to chase that rabbit.
Yes, sir.
For sure. So let's start with a good one. Let's start with the change from Millan, as we in 𝗨𝗏𝗶𝗴𝗶 have known you for a couple of decades, to Millan.
Well, it's not really a change. Our name has always been Millan. When I joined the military, obviously my prior life, my family, and, just came to the conclusion that my family is very proud of our name, and, heritage is important to us, and we wanted to pass down what we really are. It stemmed, and we don't get bothered if people call us Millan. It's just I'm going to call myself what my name really is, just because of, again, my heritage. But it led to trying to explain it every single day. Mm-hmm. When I would say my name, people wouldn't do it right. And the two L's in the Spanish alphabet make a Y type sound is the easiest way to describe that. So it became burdensome. And then at the end of the day, me and my wife were speaking and decided that, hey, our name is this, and we're just going to call ourselves that. And if people do, fine. And if not, we're good with it too. But we're just proud of my name and what my family has gone through to succeed in this country. And just that was the reason. As
you should be proud of it. Did it feel like you were kind of giving up something by giving up the pronunciation, the correct pronunciation?
No, it felt like I was gaining something back. It actually, we had started saying it here and there, and then we were in Vegas with a good friend of mine, and we were stationed together a long time ago, and he was telling my son Andrew, he said, hey, I knew your dad when he was still Millan. It's like, well, I don't know what the heck happened. And then that kind of led us to say, you know what, he's right,
Yeah. That's 𝗨𝗏𝗶𝗴𝗶. Lots of friends of mine run into 𝗨𝗏𝗶𝗶𝗶 down in Nashville at a bar one night, and introduced himself, said, hi, my name is Walt. And Lou grabbed him and just said, Walt, what? What's your last name? Be proud of your last name. It doesn't matter if you're pumping gas or conducting brain surgery. Be proud of your name. Be proud of who you are. So I get it. And,
yes, sir.
And forgive me if I don't say it correctly all throughout today, but I've been working on it. So let's jump into really your early life, where you were born and raised, and what did that look like? Okay.
I'll try to be brief, but
you don't have to.
Born in Anaheim, California, Fullerton, Orange County, just outside of L.A. Both Mexican immigrant parents. Then little known fact is I actually went back to live in Mexico till about 4 years old and lived there.
So you were born here, but at what point did you go back? Early?
Well, early, yeah. I was still very young. Yeah. And early enough to where my younger brother was actually born in Mexico.
Okay.
And then came back to the U.S. Right before preschool or kindergarten. And was raised in that area, grew up kind of rough, I think a little bit of the story. Some people might, but Fast forward, got into doing bad things, drugs, gang life. Started hanging around with the wrong people. Mm-hmm. That's why I'm a big advocate of you're the sum of the 5 people you hang around with. And I actually became what I deem pretty good gangster. And
what does a good gangster look like?
Unfortunately, yeah, you don't want to know. But I've always been loyal. I think that's one of the things that unfortunately I don't advocate any of that stuff. But some of the things that come out of it is I still have friends to this day that we're close with. That I know I would lay down my life for. Kind of like that's why I gravitated to the military, and I'm jumping all over the place. I know, but got into drugs, the gang life, and I ended up getting stabbed, and I spent about a little under a month in the hospital because I had a punctured lung, diaphragm, and stomach all in one shot with an ice pick. And
did you start that fight?
No, actually, we ended up going to this house party, and in my opinion, God works in a mysterious way because I used to hang around some pretty crazy guys that most are either not around or in prison for life. Most of my closest friends, and that night we didn't even have a weapon on us, so. I think, not saying me, but somebody would have done something probably pretty bad where I wouldn't be sitting here today. So ended up getting stabbed. It was kind of like a 20-on-5 fight.
Mm-hmm. Fair fight.
Yeah, a normal fight, and ended up on the losing end. And that kind of changed the trajectory a little bit. I started thinking a little bit about my future.
So you wake up in the hospital. You're in there for a month. I did not realize it was that long. And you figured, what was the catalyst there? You said, I've got to do something?
Well, that didn't really stem it because unfortunately you feel the fire because now I'm kind of like even cooler.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
You now got street cred.
Yeah. Now you become like the street cred because I literally, the day I got out of the hospital, the next day we got in a fight. And then people thought, man, this guy's like really crazy.
Yeah.
Luckily, there was no knives involved, but I started going back to the sum of the 5 people you hang around. Aunt of mine had helped me get a job at a hospital, and I started seeing people that had different lives, and some of them had been in the military. And this crazy guy I used to associate with at the hospital, he invited me skydiving one day. And he said, hey, you want to go skydiving? And of course, I thought myself to be pretty crazy. And I'm like, yeah, I'll do whatever. I had never even been on an airplane. And we go skydiving, jump out of the plane. And he's like, hey, we can get paid to do this if we join the military. And I was like, I'm in. A month later, I was gone.
Oh, you're kidding.
I didn't even know what the military was other than the Rambo movies. I actually had given all my stuff away. Even told my girlfriend that I couldn't have a girlfriend. I just thought it was barracks for 4 years. So
right.
Just really naive to the military, and joined, and there I went.
So what was that exit like? Because you talk about the loyalty, you talk about the gang that you were in. And so what is that like? Hey guys, by the way, just nice, appreciate everything we've been doing, but I'm about to go join the military.
Yeah, Hispanic gangs are different. It's not like
you didn't have to get beat out of the gang or anything crazy like that?
No, not where we're at, unless, you're doing something bad. That's when you get beat up if you're rat or you do something like that. Most of my friends actually supported me.
Oh, wow.
I was trying to better myself. They actually threw a big going away party for me, and it's a little bit different, and that's why some of those gangs are harder to crack, especially where we were from, because it was the people you grew up with. It wasn't like a bunch of people that just decided to start a gang. It was everybody you knew since you were in kindergarten. Mm-hmm. So that part of it was a little bit hard, and I can see why it's hard for some people to disconnect from those things, because there is some good that comes out of it, as far as the loyalty part of it, the people being there for you, the knowing people that have your back. And so for me, it was an easy transition because, again, there was a support system that they were all for it, knowing that I was trying to better myself.
So what branch of service did you go in, and how did you choose that branch?
I went into the Air Force, and it's a funny story because I was going to join the Marine Corps because in my mind I wanted to do the hardcore, like, wait, what's harder? Let me go down that route. And the Marine Corps guys do a pretty good job of recruiting. And then in the hospital where I worked, some other people said, hey, you might check out the Air Force. They do have some pretty cool jobs where you can do combat, you know. And I went and told the Marine recruiter that I was thinking about joining the Air Force, and he told me I couldn't get in because they give you these tests, you know, pre-ASVAB tests, and he told me I couldn't get in. Well, even then, as you know, I'm pretty competitive, so I was just like, what do you mean I can't get in? It's like...
You just told me I can't do something?
Yeah, so I went and tried it and talked to the Air Force recruiter, which she was a godsend, thinking back now, because... I had issues, you know. I had a small criminal record. I didn't even have a license at the time, and she helped me maneuver through those things, and then guided me and helped out a lot to get me in. Where the Marine guy was like, "Hey, you're just going to be an infantry guy. Like, well, you know, you don't need any of that mess."
That's right.
And so the lady helped me a lot to where I was, you know. Hindsight, all the stuff that she did for me in California, you conceal your records as a minor. So all that stuff kind of goes away. You get almost like a mulligan in life, and so that was a blessing looking back, because I would have not obviously ended up here at Fort Campbell.
So small, little, albeit at the time it felt like such a minor decision. I'm going to go Marines or I'm going to go Air Force, and then I go Air Force, and then you end up at Fort Campbell. How?
I ended up at Fort Campbell because the job I ended up with was what's called, it's got different names, TACP, JTAC, most of the culinary airstrikes is really what you do. So you're attached to Army units. And initially my order said that I was going to stay at Herbert Field, which is near Destin. And that's more of a training facility. So they said, hey, you're too young, like you wouldn't be able to get job experience here. So you can't basically stay here. And then the next set of orders were the Shaw Air Force Base, which is more of your talk. For those of you that are in the military, it's higher up, more talk type of environment. And at the time I had, you know, thankfully started thinking more clearly and realized that I could have a girlfriend. And I had to beg my girlfriend back, which is Lily, obviously, ended up being my wife, and had even told her, hey, we're going to Shaw Air Force Base. And at the end, when we were supposed to get our orders, they all of a sudden said, no, you're going to Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And, you know, and the Air Force is a little bit different from the Army. You can make a little bit of a scene and not get in trouble. So I started like going off on them, saying, hey, this is like, I've been jacked around my whole military career. Now you're saying I have to go to Fort Campbell, which honestly, I just thought it was going to be some dirt roads and, you know, from what you see on TV. Again, I was super naive. I had never left the state of California in my life, other than maybe going to Arizona across the border or Vegas. So completely naive of how everything was, and ended up, they ended up giving me a choice. And they said, you can either go to Fort Drum, New York, or Fort Campbell.
Ooh.
And then so everybody that was telling me, they're like, hey, you definitely want to go to Fort Campbell. You don't want to go to Fort Drum. Especially, I had never even seen snow in my life. And so I picked the southernmost state. And that's how I ended up here at Fort Campbell, Clarksville, Tennessee, which, you know, obviously looking back now is, I believe, God ordained or driven. And we're glad we ended up here.
So is it true that the TACPs they're all jealous of the Air Force Special Operations weather guys? Is that just am I the only one that thinks that?
No, I think it was the other way around. For those of you that don't know, Jeff was also Air Force veteran, combat weather, great job.
I don't know about a great job, but something happened that we found out decades later in our lives. Tell us that story.
You know the story better, but we were riding bicycles, and you know when you road bike, you know you do it for a couple hours at a time, and we were just shooting the breeze, and you started mentioning about this crazy jump you were on back. I don't even know when, during the week of the Eagles back in the 90s, and talked about the Air Force. I think he was a colonel at the time. That
was your colonel.
Yeah, yes, sir. 𝗨𝗨𝗶𝗴𝗶
Yeah.
attached to us. That was a jump master, and then just he went ahead first. It was just a crazy jump, and I was like, hey, I happen to be on that jump. So we realized that we were on a same jump and didn't even know each other. And then
Until decades later.
Yeah, now we're obviously really good friends, and so happy that you're in our lives. You know, you and KT have been a blessing.
Well, the feeling's mutual. It's a very memorable jump. I remember we got elbow pads, knee pads.
Yeah, a lot of people getting hurt.
No
and
reserve,
I don't think they do that anymore.
No, it's not. So, and this is a tough one, but you look back at that time there in California and that window where you came to Clarksville, came to Fort Campbell. What would you change in that first window? And I know it's a big, broad question, but what is really one thing that is eating at you that you would probably change in that first window?
Oh, man. I always joke around that I don't think I would change a lot of things, only for the fact of that the way things have panned out. Like the story that you said, that little decision that I made that changed the trajectory for me to come here. God's honest truth, I have about 50 of those that were like,
it's unreal, isn't it?
Like, hey, I made this quick decision, and it changes the trajectory for the better in most cases. Obviously, there's been some bad, but I would say showing back then I was a little bit more hardcore, and showing grace to people and mercy versus seeking justice is, I think, what a lot of us, I've been on that kick, I think, of like trying to show people grace, because a lot of people showed it to me, even though I didn't see it. So sometimes when it's happening to you, you don't even realize what's happening, because a lot of people were patient with me. A lot of people were confident in me, gave me the trust, and then sometimes I feel like if I'm in a hurry, I don't show that grace and mercy to others.
You know, we talk, you and I do often, about those small decisions, and I talk to my daughter Macy about it, and I know you talk to your children about it. I had a graduation date, the same as another lady with the school I was in the Air Force. My duty station was Okinawa, Japan. And I had asked for the Southeast, you know how that goes. Well, they gave me Southeast, like Asia. and she had asked to go overseas. And so I said, hey, you want to swap? And it was like that. We just signed a document, and she went to Okinawa, and I came to Fort Campbell. We just switched like that. I don't even remember that person's name.
Yeah.
You know, but you talk about a decision that led to this, led to our relationship, led to my family, led to my child, led to everything, all the journeys that we've been on, just a small, minute decision. And so I try to stress that to my family. And I know you do the same as well. Speaking of family, let's get to the family. So how did you and Lily meet? Back when she was the girlfriend, how did you guys meet?
She grew up in the same neighborhood, so there's no date, right? You just knew of her. I'm 3.5 years older than her, so it was obviously not, when I'm 15, I'm looking at her.
Right.
Whatever. We just knew she was, we just knew of each other from the same neighborhood, and then just something, obviously clicked when we got older. But she was also in the gang. She's more open about it more. She used to be somewhat embarrassed of it, but again, told her that's our past, and hopefully people can see the difference in us. But she had a rough upbringing as well. Didn't have a dad in her life, but again, gravitated towards the gangs, drugs, the whole deal. And we actually ended up dating while we were gang members. And actually, the first official quote date we had, there was a fight, and she ended up on top of a car, kicking this girl in the head. And I joke around to the kids. And I was like, she's the one for me. Is what I tell the kids. But she looked so little and petite, but she was a fighter.
So she's going to hear this.
Yes, sir.
Who pursued who?
At different times, each other. Believe it or not.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
And then obviously, to me, she's the most beautiful lady in the world, and you can imagine someone dumb like me thinking, oh, like I'm not gonna pursue and be stubborn, or I can do better, or whatever the attitude is. Like, you would think, like, how dumb can you be? But the first official time we kissed was at a New Year's party, and I think you might have heard this. We're at a New Year's party. I'm kind of drunk, and I'm telling my friends, hey, the first girl that comes up to me, I'm just going to kiss her. Mm-hmm. And it ended up being somebody else that I hugged, but that person wasn't as
you backtracked a little bit when that person came up.
Apparently I wasn't that drunk. And then so I turned around to friends and I said, the second girl that... because my friends were waiting to see if I was going to do it. And I said, the second girl. And then that's how Lily came, luckily was the second person that hugged me. I just happened to kiss her, and the rest is kind of history.
So needless to say, she kissed back.
Yeah, thank God. Yes, sir.
Outstanding.
I didn't get a slap.
Outstanding. Well, you guys, I said it to you the other day. Y'all are writing an incredible book. I'd love to see it on paper. The chapters are going to vary greatly, which I think is fantastic.
Yes, sir.
Back to the family. Since then, y'all have put together an amazing family. So tell us about your family.
4 kids. They're the reason we do most of the things that we do, contrary to popular belief. You've known me a long time and know the focus I put into it, and not to make them clones or whatever of what we do, but letting them find their own way. That's what we're more proud of. When Leo was born, that changed my whole life. Having my firstborn child, because me and my Lily thought we were going to go back. This is pre getting saved, pre seeing the light, pre whatever people might see it. The day Leo was born, I kind of joke around with people that I became a instant Southerner. It was like, there's no way I'm raising this kid in California. And
so it was your Southern anchor baby.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah, that's exactly what it is, because it was just like it all came like within the day of like everything that I envisioned for us post-military, because I always knew I was not going to be a career soldier or airman, and that changed to where, like, man, I need to figure out what to do here.
So you have 4, and tell us their names.
Leo, Leo Miguel. He's named after my dad's middle name, so he's kind of not technically junior, or he might be. I don't know what the laws are with that. But Ariana, Janessa, and Andrew, and of course we have a 5th baby, as Lily would say, Tristan Jude, our grandbaby.
Y'all are amazing to see with Tristan too. It's really fun to watch, and he loves it. So you got 4. You got a favorite.
The grandbaby. I think it's pretty obvious.
Good answer. What are some of your favorite family traditions?
One of the best ones is like Christmas. We thank God have options to do other things, like we would travel a lot for holidays, but it was humbling for them to say, hey, for Christmas, can we just stay home and have like a old school Christmas like we used to, where the kids, even at that age, still the last one we had, they all spent the night, and they wake up and open their stockings and open the gifts, and they want Lily to cook breakfast and then stay all day. I mean, that, you think that you would have all these, I don't know what people would deem, like I always envisioned, you could go to some Disney cruise or be in Europe or something, and to know that means more to them, even now that you're capable of doing those things, is just priceless.
You also have a tradition of the solid. Explain the solid to me.
Yeah, it was our monetary system back when the kids were younger. It's basically, hey, if I do you a solid, it's worth something, right? So they would say, hey, can you do me this? And I'll owe you one, and it was a good way of the kids learning how to keep your word, and then also a little bit on the monetary. We had one son, as you know, Andrew went bankrupt with the solids. We had to bail him out.
He had to file bankruptcy, didn't he?
Yeah, yes, sir.
But then you've got one that is pretty good at collecting the solids.
Oh, yeah, we had one that was excellent collecting solids. Ariana, which actually, she's involved with the foundation. And when we were doing the auction, she texted a good friend of ours, Andy, in Chicago, and said, "Hey, Mr. Andy, can I cash in my solids with you?" Because I guess he had told her he owed her solids. I mean, this is since she's a little girl, and then maybe you can bid on something. I found this secondhand, but just didn't know that stuff still affects them.
But it was amazing to me over the last decade or so, because it's still a thing, and you guys still talk about it, and it seems fascinating to me. Do you know who came up with that?
I think we were watching a show. I think it was called. A show Andrew and Janessa used to watch. I forgot the name of it. It was with the bird, and I think it was called The Other Show or Today. I forgot it. I forgot, but it was like a cartoon, kind of like came after SpongeBob type deal. And they forgot the name of the show.
Well, you've talked about Lily growing up without a father, and I'd like for you to tell us a little bit about your parents. But then also, it seems as if that has segued obviously a lot into how you're raising your children. And so tell us about that.
Well, immigrant parents, my mom has always been one of the hardest workers that I've known. And kind of like speaking on Lily's behalf, her mother-in-law, my mother-in-law and her sisters, really, really good people, hard workers. She didn't have a dad. I had a dad in my life, and sometimes people hear only the bad of my father, because my dad was an alcoholic for a while, then would get sober, and then kind of back. So we got to see the different sides of what being a good dad is, but also seeing the what not to do, right, of my dad, like just. You remember everything when you're a kid, so we've been intentional of like, hey, they'll remember this, because I remember the cops knocking on our door, and my dad saying, "No, just don't open the door." Like, that's not the
They'll
answer.
go away.
Yeah, that's not the answer, or him not coming home, or being physically abusive. That's one thing. That I think as people, you're afraid of becoming that person. So that's why I'm, as you know, like my kids have yet to see me even buzzed, because I saw that and what it led to. And then so to me, the appetite for that is not really there. And that's just me, as you know, I don't preach anything against anything most of the time, but I just know how things affected us. And I just didn't want to go down that route. So maybe even to a fault overcorrected on certain things that we pushed, but it was just like almost like a defense mechanism.
So, I mean, you said overcorrected. I mean, what makes you think that you would overcorrect? I mean,
I don't know. I just feel like, I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with drinking at all. But I just remember seeing, like, I associate my mom getting beat with my dad being like drunk, because when he was sober, he wasn't doing it. So again, I joke around that we all have certain issues, and mine stem from back then, like dad issues. He didn't really spend a ton of time with us. Remember vividly, like him taking us to the park and playing baseball. I remember the whole scenario of how it went down, and that's why most of us that know us that we don't compromise on time with our kids, especially when they were younger. People think I work a lot, which I'm proud that I believe I've never been the smartest, but I always thought I could outwork anybody. But at the same time, if you ask my kids, I've been pretty decent about attending events, graduations. When we grew up, there was one graduation. Now there's like 50 of them. So we, attending those and doing stuff with the grandbaby. So we're just intentional.
Definitely shaped the way that you're intentional with your family. Going back to, you were talking about the Christmas. and how important that is for you to get everybody together and to be very traditional with that Christmas day, Christmas night before Christmas Eve.
Yeah, spending time with each other. And again, we saw, like my dad, when he had quit drinking, how that change was. You know, he actually became really strict for a while and disciplined us. And it's weird because you long for that. We actually were the house, again, moving forward, ours was the house where we wanted the kids to come. And to this day, they still come. Our daughter had all her friends from high school over yesterday at the house. And it didn't happen yesterday, but in the past, some of our other kids' friends have always said, like, we always thought we were over strict because, you know, there was no alcohol, there was no, you know, we checked. We were intentional about me as a dad not being around if there's girls around, just being super intentional about having a safe space for the kids to come. And we thought we were kind of like overdoing it. And now that they're older, they're like, man, we wish our parents would have been like this. And we thought, you know, because your kids say, hey, what about our friends, right? So that's one thing we never really bought into, of like, you know, keeping up with the Joneses on the kids' side of like, hey, they got a cell phone. It's like, well, good for them, you know. And so we were, that's one thing that me and Lily have always been unified on, is like, hey, if I say something, we're sticking together. You know, they'll play you, you know, just like grown people will do it, yet alone kids would try to play us against each other to say like, hey, what about this? This isn't fair. And my deal was always like, well, you went and asked your mom first. Like, if she said that, that's the way it's going to be.
If she really said that.
Yeah, correct. Again, not that we're perfect. We're like anybody else that has a lot to work on, a lot of mistakes that were made. But you know, the intent was always good, and I think kids see that, where you screw up a lot, but if they see the intent, they can see how genuine you are.
Well, a lot is changing there. Leo married, 𝗙𝗍 married, moving away for a little while. So
yeah, and Andrew's in Florida. So it was a weird transition for us, because we were always with our kids all the time. And as you saw this weekend, we still, you know, like we're, you know, tagging along with the grandbaby now. Now we joke around that we're back to where if someone's doing a family trip, we can go, or if it's just couples only, we can go. So we've got the best of both worlds.
You're back in the game.
Yeah, yes, sir.
So you mentioned faith earlier. Tell us about your faith journey, how that came about.
Yeah, so we grew up going to church, but not really being involved. We went because we had to.
Is that a thing in the gang life? I mean, is faith a thing? Because I don't know how you would say, I'm going to beat this guy, but I love him.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, and I'm not here to knock on a particular religion, but we grew up Catholic. And there's a lot of people that are Catholic that are really faithful. We just were not plugged in like at all, but you say you're Catholic. You know, I remember us riding around in a car with drugs and weapons in the car, and you pass a Catholic church and you do the cross thing. I don't know how to say it in English. It's persinar in Spanish. You do the cross. So you're there, you know, it's embedded in you that you believe in God, and I always did, but really not following. And that didn't come to pass till later on, as I was stubborn. So we always had people try to approach us and discuss, you know, their faith, and we would just brush everybody off. I had talked to Mormons. I was always open to talk to anybody. I've always been able to get along with almost anybody. So I would heal spills and all that, and not really bought in. But it wasn't really till I had just gotten out of the Air Force, and we were struggling and had started a carpet cleaning business, and got a phone call. You know, we're really slow, and got a phone call, and the person on the phone was like, can you come right now? Or how soon can you come? I think what it was. And, you know, I wasn't doing anything. I'm like, I can be there in whatever I said, an hour or whatever.
I'm in your driveway.
Yeah, I'm here. And it ended up being Pastor 𝗙𝗍𝗶𝗶, which a lot of people know in town. And long story short, ended up staying at his house for 4 hours. And, you know, I got to, he got to share his story, because when you meet somebody like him, it's a little bit different, because he grew up in a similar manner like we did. You know, he's tatted down, and so you can relate right away with his struggles and went through his family. And I always thought I was Mr. Hardcore back then, and it humbles you because he has your story is rough, right? It's almost like comparing Mexicans do this for some reason, or gang members. Like my story was harder than yours, and then when I heard his story, it made me a listener, right? Because his family had gone through a lot, so I was vulnerable to him to open up, and because a lot of people going back had invited us to church, and then when I met him and he invited us to church, it ended up that literally every single person in the last couple of years that had invited myself or Lily to church ended up going to the same church.
So he had the street cred when he came to you with faith.
Yeah, yes, sir. For some weird reason, and moving forward, I ended up going to the prisons with him, and I saw it in action because I could go talk to certain people, get him to go to chapel, and then he would preach and lead them to salvation. So that was pretty incredible to see on the other end of it.
Sure. When y'all go to prisons, do y'all take your shirts off so it makes your tats and everything?
Yeah, no. Well, him are more visible than mine. You can kind of see mine, but most of them are gang affiliated. So most people know, that know.
But you've made no attempt to remove those tattoos.
No, they're good or bad. They're part of my past. And people always, you talk about the regrets, and the only regret I have is physically hurting somebody mentally or physically. Those are probably like the biggest regrets I have in life, other than not teaching my kids Spanish, but everything else is just part of what led me to become who I am, because now I know better. Not that I got it perfected. I'm still jacked up as everybody else, but I think I have the advantage to know, let's just say if it's an anger issue, road rage, whatever, I know what it can lead to, right?
Right.
So most of the time you'll never see me.
You truly know what a gateway is.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yeah,
Absolutely.
That's similar with drugs, and that's why for us it was non-negotiables, right? People would argue. And again, you'll never see me in a discussion of what's a starter drug or whatnot. I come from that world. Like, I know crackheads, I know heroin addicts, and we grew up together, and none of them started doing heroin. It all started with something, and most of the time it's marijuana. It gives you the opening, right? So, someone smokes out, I could care less, unless they're my family. But to me, it's like, what are you gaining from that, right? Our time is limited. I mean, I'm going to get on a rabbit trail here, but our time is limited on what we can do, and I'd rather use my energy for something else.
Well, I respect you for not messing with the tattoos, because I think we talked earlier about a chapter in the book and those small decisions. That's part of it. Yeah. As you mentioned, it's just part of your story. You said something about starting with the carpet cleaning business right after you got out of the service. Let's get into kind of that transition into your career. You and I have spoken numerous times in the past about mentorship. You had an amazing early mentor. Yeah. Tell me about that.
Incredible. Well, I've had many. It started with in the military, which were really good friends and peers, right? So I had people that I'm still good friends with in the military. You've met some of them, David Shulman. One of them got really famous, David. That we're peers, and we're still really good friends. And it's the eclectic group of friends. We don't consider ourselves normal. We don't want to be. But also, I met some great people that helped me, like Mr. John Mayer, that I met. Sorry, I didn't even finish the story. Tommy Ray, when I was in the military, he was a sergeant that got a bunch of us together and said, "Hey, if I were you guys," it went more than this. Obviously, he poured into us, but it was like, "Hey, if I were you guys, I'd buy a fourplex with your VA." Something as simple as that led us to use my VA to buy a fourplex, live in it, rent the others out. Then we did an FHA loan and then moved around. So me and my wife didn't really have a house till 10 years later. We moved around different places. And then when I was transitioning out of the military, I met a gentleman, 𝗨𝗏𝗶𝗴𝗶 Allen, that had a Integrity Auto Sales, which is still on Wilma Rudolph, and we're still involved with that a little bit. He let me have a license under him, and me and Lily would go wash the cars at night, and gave us the opportunity. And there I met the gentleman John Mayer. I think I was 22 years old at the time, and he was 66. I think that's the math. And he just took to have interest in me, kind of like Mr. Jack Turner does to people. He'll meet you, and hey, he's really genuine about what your story is, and found out about us, and for some reason or another, he just got to like me. And one day he just said, hey, I'll give you a line of credit to buy cars or whatever. And at that time, I was more passionate about real estate, and I asked him if I could use some of that money to buy real estate. So what I was doing is, and you would think no big deal, he lent you money, but he was doing seconds, which means they're useless if you don't pay the first, right? So I would go to the bank, say, yeah, I got this money, I want to buy this fourplex. They lent me the money, and Mr. Mayer would put up the down payment essentially, and then so we were able to grow with him. But the main thing was that he came and spent time with me every week, would call me. I was able to bounce stuff off of him, and just became like a family to us till even recent. He just passed away a few years ago. That I still stay in contact with his family. Just I could. That's like a podcast for like an hour of how influential he was, but also others here in Clarksville that influenced me. You're one of them. When I know people think we're peers, we work together, but the way you handle things has been beneficial to me, and how it's shaped me. The Jim Durrett, the mayor, like 𝗍𝗶𝗶𝗶𝗶, like people like that you would not think that we spend a ton of time together, but like they're just, Clarksville as a whole has been like a mentor program for me, like a growth track deal for us.
And I understand you're humble. I get that. What do you think Mr. Mayer saw in you at 22 years old?
I think he saw what he saw while he served with others. So, and I might get this wrong, but when he was an incredible story. Again, that's an hour podcast. It's incredible that he was somebody that could have a chip on the shoulder, like people, a lot of minorities do. Like I've never complained about like, hey, I didn't get a fair shot. Nowadays I use it as an excuse. And again, some of us are brought up with worse circumstances than others, and we have different approaches. And I'm not dishing on any of them, but I'm just saying, like, I'm just going to put my head down and work, but just not having the using it as leverage to the opposite. And I already forgot what you asked, but
what he saw in you.
Oh, what he saw in me, I think, was that, and then again, I might get this wrong. So Holocaust survivor, was a German Jew. So he had to swear allegiance when he got here. Incredible story. He came here basically, I think he was like 8 or 9 by himself on a boat. Ended up getting connected with the family. Raised in New York, ended up joining the military. Well, back then, because he was a German citizen, had to swear allegiance to the U.S. like every month or something crazy like that. And then so the military was segregated, so they put him with the others. I think there was blacks, whites, and then others. So they put him with others. So they put him with a bunch of Mexicans. And then so he, again, thanks to those guys, because I remember him. There's a gentleman here named Mr. 𝗍𝗶𝗶𝗶 that we, ironically, again, weird coincidence, me and Lily ended up renting from him. And Mr. Mayer had served with him and people like that said, he said, man, some of the best soldiers I ever served with were Mexican. And that, I think, started it, so it's like
open the door for the conversation.
Yeah, again, weird coincidence that led to that. But I think he just saw a little bit of him in me, because he was a true hustler, even to the end. I was fortunate enough that his family let me come spend time with him while he was in hospice, and he had the stock market ticker up and still watching the market. So I think that was part of it, that he saw a little bit in him, And I'd like to say that the honesty part, and I never lied to him. I was trying to be truthful to him, and I think people respect that.
You told me at one point in time a story about making payments to Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, best business decision I ever made. I don't even know how I thought of this, but it came out of my mouth. And when we were negotiating that, hey, I'm going to pay you every month for these deals, I just blurted out. It's like, hey, I'm never not going to pay you. I was very proud for, again, going back to my mother, of like, hey, and pay your bills, and then worry about it eating later. That was embedded in us, even for my grandfather. That was a real humble man, but real honest and hardworking. One of the most hardworking people you ever meet. So I told him, I'll never be late. The only thing is, I'm never going to mail you a payment.
Why is that?
Because I wanted him to come in and spend time with me. I told him the only thing I'm ever going to cheat you on or rob you on is information from your mind. Again, this is a 22-year, 23-year-old saying these things, and it's almost like just had a moment. And I tell people to this day that that's the best business decision I ever made, because then he became part of our team when we were smaller. He would come in the office, even if I wasn't there, he'd be spending time with our team and getting a cup of coffee. And back then he didn't have a cell phone. He was probably the last person in Clarksville to get a cell phone. So he had a beeper. If he had a phone call, he'd come in and sit at my office and make phone calls. And so he became part of our team.
So he gave you his most valuable thing.
And now that I'm getting older, and I'm not even at his age when I met him, and I think back of the loans are one thing, because I think by the time I was like 26, I owed him like $1.4 million, which is, as you know, it's hard to lend a family member $500, yet alone lend somebody $1.5 million on seconds. To have that is just
to have his time.
Just incredible, because the money's one thing, but like the phone calls, him coming in, sitting down, going to lunch, inviting me to his house to eat. When his wife would cook, Miss Mary Ann, great lady too. She's passed away since. She would always lift me and Lily up, or both of them would. Again, that's even given the self-concept. I've made mistakes, and I would run and bite him. It was like, oh, you dummy, don't do that. He would just, have these little mayorism, as we say, with him and his family. Like, as surely as that clock goes around, so does the cycle, like not worry about the big stuff, So he was really good. The little stuff, he was always good about that.
So what did that path into real estate look like? How did you get, long story, but how did you get from there, integrity and meeting Mr. Mayor, to where you are today with Millan Enterprises?
He really helped snowball the process. I was always passionate about real estate, but I always said I got no I don't have any money or credibility to grow to the capacity that we thought we could. So he helped snowball that process. A, by coaching me, but B, by being around somebody that has credibility. Again, it's sad that most people don't know anything about him, but the Turners, the Jack Hands, the Charles Hands, and the people here in Clarksville that know him, and how valuable he was to the city.
You have told me before that you buy when people sell and you sell when people buy. I've never seen you sell, but tell me about the first part of that.
Well, the Mr. Mayor used to say the deal of a lifetime comes around once a month, and I believe that. So he used what we call sixth grade math, and to this day, brokers that call from Nashville and they say, "Well, what formula do you use?" And I really can't explain the formula. It's just
Does it work?
Yeah, it just works. And he taught me that buying and selling is a job. Buying and keeping for the long haul is an investment. And he said, you want to be a real estate investor or
you just want a job,
or you want to have a job. So that led the mindset of
That's good.
of keeping it. And it was a combination of me knowing that for us, it's more generational type stuff that we're trying to do, and not just like a one-shot deal. And you know, we make a bunch of money and then go blow it, and then we had a great life, and you go away, because in 100 years nobody's going to care who Leo is, right? But if there's people getting help, no matter how that is, whether it be my kids, helping people, or however that looks, then that means something. And not necessarily that the name, right? Because at the end of the day, nobody's going to know who it is. But trying to do the right thing is really important.
So do you enjoy what you do now?
Yeah, I say I still don't use an alarm clock. One of the main things that I always tell people, if you enjoy what you do and you find your place, you'll never work a day in your life. And that's what we've always wanted for our kids. That's what we've never pushed them into. Hey, you need to do real estate. You need to do 𝗨𝗶𝗶𝗶. You never need to do this other thing. It's just like whatever makes you happy, we'll support you. As you know, Andrew's doing a whole different thing in Florida, but I think he's found his place for now that makes him want to get up in the morning and is excited, and he actually passed the test today for the airplane mechanic. Yeah.
For congratulations,
AMT,
Andrew.
Yeah. So you see, it doesn't, for us, it's just like as long as you're moving forward and you're doing what makes you happy. It could be going to Harvard or being an elementary school teacher. To me, it's the same. The happiness is what really fulfills somebody, and having fulfillment, not just being happy. Because someone could technically be happy fishing every day, but what is the purpose at the end of the day, right?
Still feel empty.
Yeah, finding their purpose.
So, giving you the magic wand, you've heard this story a few times. So you can be anywhere, doing anything for a living, and money doesn't matter. Are you doing it now?
God's honest truth, yes.
That's amazing. Absolutely. How have you incorporated the faith we spoke of earlier into your business? And how hard is that to do, or how easy is that to do?
For us, it was actually easy because, as you know, I'm a little bit different, which in a good way. My Lily jokes around that I have something, whether it's be Asperger's or just ADHD or whatever it is. I'm like, well, whatever it is, I don't want to take it away from me. I'm not going to take anything.
Don't give me anything.
Yeah. For us, it's been easy because going back to, I see it as like the body of Christ, and everybody wants to be the mouth. Everybody wants to be seen. To me, it's like I'd rather always be the hand or the feet or whatever. So I'm not one that pushes our belief systems on anybody, because as you know, we hire anybody as long as you work, which is kind of ironic because we've heard it say like, well, if you don't have this belief system, you won't do well here. And as you know from running the 𝗨𝗶𝗶𝗶, it's like, man, anybody that works hard and has
good attitude
is like, we'll take you. So we've never pushed our faith on people. We just rather show. And again, we're flawed. We jack things up. We make huge mistakes. So we just hope that people will show some mercy on us a little bit, hopefully, like we show to others.
Well, you talk about being the hand. So let's stay there for a second. So without a doubt, sitting here at this table, you and I both have been unbelievably blessed beyond any imagination.
Yes, sir.
Without a doubt. And so that being said, it comes with a burden that people don't see.
Yeah.
Without a doubt. So your attention, your time becomes incredibly valuable. How do you manage that?
I don't.
But yet you do.
It has to be intentional.
Yeah.
So actually, multiple people have always asked, like, how do you manage all these relationships, right? I think that's, if anything,
I've heard it asked of you.
If I could say I'm pretty decent at one thing is maintaining these relationships, and they're different. A lot of them are different. And I've thought about it before, and it's like, well, you have to work at it some, which it does. But at the end of the day, they have to be organic and real.
And feel effortless.
Yeah, like me and you talk, I would say at least once a day, but it could be for 10 seconds because you just say, hey, let me call you back, and I never hear from you again. But I know it happens more on my end.
I don't do that.
But I know it happens more on my end, but I think we understand that, hey, like he's not doing this on purpose or whatever, but it's also genuine that I don't have to work at it to have the relationship with you. Because there's friends that sometimes I don't talk to for 3 months, and I'll call them or vice versa, and then we just hit it off. And the initial conversation is just, man, how come you haven't called me in 3 months? So I think having them being genuine is the key.
So often I hear how lucky you are, and you and I have had this conversation as well.
Yeah.
Tell us about you being so lucky.
Well, you've heard me say the luckier, the harder I work, the luckier I get. There is some sort of, I call it grace, that actually a lot of grace that goes into it for some weird reason. And, I have my own little definitions that I've kind of put together, but they're from other people. And I think you've heard me say this, and I'll kind of jump into this. It's like a lot of us, a good large percentage, which I fall into this, is like we seek justice. So you do me wrong, right? You take my pen. I either want it back, or I want you to spend a day in jail, or I want you to like have a fender bender or something. That's justice because you got what you deserved. A few of us can get into the realm of showing mercy, which is hard, right? Which means like, you took my pen, you probably needed it.
That's tough.
You probably needed it. I'm going to let you skate by. Somebody at work does something to you. You don't write them up or whatever.
So how do you do that with your background? Your background prior to Fort Campbell?
Oh, it gets worse. Let me finish. But it gets worse. So that's mercy. I would say a good 10% of the population can operate that way. And the one I'm trying to get to, I'm not saying I'm there. Maybe I've done it once or twice, but I know I've benefited from it. Is grace, which my definition is you get something you don't deserve. That's so in other words, you stole my pen, and then I'm like, hey man,
since you needed my pen, do you need this water bottle as well?
Yeah.
No.
That I wish if I can get there full time, that's a whole nother level. Because a lot of us keep score, whether we say we don't want to. I'd like to say that I don't, but I guess you do kind of with your kids or family members, or he did me wrong this, and then we start. So trying to get there, and like you said, for having it for our background was a big change, and that's why I'm saying I'm not there, because the way we associated fixing things is like, you do me wrong, like I'm going to fix it tomorrow. And so people that know me now, that say like, oh, you're so calm and whatever. It's like, well, again, I know what the end result is if we go down that path. But again, we haven't figured it out either.
So you've been able, if I'm hearing you correctly, kind of take pieces from the past that are good. That chapter in the book that we talked about, loyalty is something you mentioned. That's something incredibly important to you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you took a piece of that past, which was like instant retribution, and turned it into your work towards mercy and grace. Yeah. Is that fair to say?
Yeah. Well, if you've seen the friends that I hang around with, I was talking to more people. I was talking, I think, Will at work of like, and I got to think like, man, how did I have like this eccentric group of friends? And I said it in a good way, because I wouldn't change them for the worlds that are friend. And I think the number one thing is like, if I was in trouble, if I called Jeff Truitt and said, hey, I'm in Alabama, stranded, whatever, I know you would try to get it fixed. I'm not like, oh man, sucks for you, right? So most of my friends are loyal to a fault, and I'm the same way, I believe. I think most people would hopefully think like, hey, if I'm in big trouble, he might not answer the phone right away, but if he knows my situation, he would do something about it.
So we've started our own little gang in Clarksville, Tennessee.
Yeah.
What would be the name of that gang? Let's don't go there.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah. So success that we're talking about right now, and you getting to where you are today, it brings with it a level of stress. Mm-hmm. You know, we talked about being blessed earlier, and how that also provides a burden, but so does success. Success comes with a level of stress. It doesn't have to. How do you personally handle stress?
You know, I'm a huge believer, and you've heard me maybe say this, where much is given, much is required. Mm-hmm. So you ask, and then it's like, okay, what are you going to do with it? You know, because I think when you're younger, you're naive to the fact of, oh man, if I just had this, I'd be happy, right? Mm-hmm. And the truth is, not really. You know, the only problem is you have to get there to realize that sometimes. So people might not reach it, so they're always searching for the wrong thing. So we've been fortunate to see it on both ends, and have the journey that we have and are having, to say, okay, what's the next thing? Because I think one thing that I've been a believer on is that the much is given, much is required. Mm-hmm. What does that even mean? And it stems back since we started working, you know, and I grew in my faith and had salvation. It's like, okay, what do I need to do? A lot of people see us doing what we're doing now and don't realize that I've been doing the same thing for, 20 years. We're looking at pictures from back when I started going to Jamaica and Guatemala. We were doing it. Now is just maybe more noticeable, but it's always been there. So it's not even the how much are you giving? It's like, what is the sacrifice, right? The sacrifice is probably about the same. And we've just been able to handle it knowing of the end result, right? Because it'd be easy to say, like, you know what, this is too much stress. I'm just going to keep to myself in my own little bubble, and I'll be happy. That's actually one of the things that helped change my trajectory, because I literally was one Saturday night working my plan for my family. And I said, this is what Leo needs. This is what my family needs to be okay, when I was in my mind struggling. Mm-hmm. And literally went to church the next day, and the pastor was saying, he said it, and I'm not word for word, but saying, hey, I know there's some of you that are thinking, hey, what can I do to provide for me? Literally what I was going through the night before, like I know some of you are thinking, what can I do just to provide for me and my family, and then I'll be fine, whatever. And he said, that is selfish. It's like, you should be thinking of what you can do for others. And that, there's little life moments that just click. Mm-hmm. And I'd venture to say that ever since that moment, I kind of went in a different path of saying, again, I'm not sitting here saying I got it figured out. That's why I have way smarter people, way better people that help us to get to that, hey, how can we really not just do for us, but do more for others?
And I know you have been out there for decades, giving to others, giving to those who are in need. Do you feel like that came from your prior life of taking?
Yeah. I think you say these words that they're triggers, so it's probably leading to a longer podcast. But I'm a big believer. It's like, you're a giver or you're a taker. And for a long time, I was a taker, kind of like even in society, with friends, mm-hmm. with family, you have to look at yourself. And a lot of us know the answer. And so we're always mad at our family, right? Well, why are you mad? Because are they not giving you anymore? Or like, you tired of giving? Mm-hmm. It's either one or the other. So I said, I think I want to be a giver. I want to be the one known that, hey, I can give, and again, not that we got it figured out, but one of the best compliments I ever got in my life ever was my daughter Janessa when she was younger. So I think someone asked her what I did for a living, and she said, "Oh, people call my dad, and he helps them." And so again, going back to what the kids see what we're doing, right? Since
They
they're
are
younger.
watching and
again,
listening to everything.
Again, we screwed some things up, but some things I know we did right because we were intentional. We saw that, and it wasn't like, hey, let me wait till they're 18, and then I'm going to try to start doing things right. You know, we knew we were going to jack some things up, so we were trying to go as we went to try to do the right thing.
Well, you and I had the fortune to go on a trip to Africa. How did that go?
It was awesome. We didn't leave the airport. So now it leads to, hopefully you can chime in on what you think, because I was going to a lot of these trips on my own, and this is what led to a little bit of of what started the foundation. Because I would always have people saying like, "Man, I heard you went here. How come you never like invite?" And you know, it's hard for me to ask people for
and your humility factors in. Your humility's factored in as well. I know it has. I've watched it over the last decade or plus. You don't want to say, "Hey, this is what I'm doing. Come be a part of it." You know.
And
hard.
now it seems like it's the oxymoron of it that we have this foundation. But I think what it is we realize that, hey, we can't do all this on our own, and we need to get better people involved, because taking you, for example, going back to our Africa trip, we got invited by Pastor Mike to go to Africa with 𝗙𝗿𝗶𝗴𝗶, and there was this visa that you needed in Kenya that they told us we didn't need, and then we get to the airport, they say we're not going to go. And this is where
you talk about a God thing, though.
Yeah, agreed 100%, because we're sitting at the airport, and it's me, you, and my daughter Ariana, and she's crying because she's devastated. And I'm like, don't worry, something good is going to get out of it. And I think we booked our tickets. I said, you want to go to Mexico? And of course, you being
Giddy up.
Jeff, if it would have been anybody else, it would have been like, oh no. And then it would have been me and my daughter Adi, which changed kind of like the trajectory of why we need to take other people. And I won't steal your thunder on if you were going to mention this, but you saw something that I've been going there for years. And I was thinking of like, man, how do we get internet here? And then they had a dial-up deal before that didn't work too well. And without me even talking about internet, you're like, man, we need to get Starlink here. Mm-hmm. And then, as you know, now we got Starlink everywhere because we're Starlink fans now. You can get Starlink in a remote Mayan village. They have better internet than we do in most cases, and that's thanks to you and you going with us. So you tell me what you saw. And
well, I'll tell you this: we got there the first night, and again thought we would be in Africa, and got there the first night, and of course they're making tacos, which it's my love language, on an open fire in 𝗄𝗄𝗃, which is in the Yucatan Peninsula, and they bring in a small little girl with pigtails. What was her name?
Kenya.
Her name was Kenya.
I remember.
Knew then that we were in the place we were supposed to be. It's a fantastic trip. Really opened my eyes a lot. You and I have been back there since then as well. And so you talk about now taking people with you. Mm-hmm. So is that what led to the Millan Foundation? What started the, hey, we got to do that. We got to do something here.
Well, it led to going back to in 100 years, going back to legacy stuff. And I'm not saying like my family name or people will know who we are. It's just like, oh man, Leo gets hit by a bus. What's going to happen, right? Some of these areas, I'm the only one that's ever gone to, and there's no connection. And I wanted to continue, even with my kids. My kids have been to these places, but if they don't have the passion for it, we wanted to hopefully continue. So that led to it. And then again, the adding value part to it. As you know, going to a different place in Guatemala, and seeing the need there. And then our mutual good friend, George Watson, that led me wanting to dig wells. I'm not even qualified to put up a 2x4 or change a lock nowadays. And then I'm thinking, hey, we're going to take on this project on digging a well, and we're stumbling through it, but we're doing it. And he's been a godsend, as you know. He's just a great human being that shifted my focus to say like, hey, we can do this too, and then we're doing it. And of course, Scott Coulter, Tanya leading the charge with some of that foundation stuff, getting us lined up to be able to do that. It's just I can only see the good that come out of it in the next 5, 10, 20 years.
So I'm gonna get back to the foundation in just a second. I'm gonna go back to those first early trips though too. One of the things that really, really surprised me was when you get into probably pretty remote areas, it's tough. And you know, I hate to say this, but the last thing you want to do is walk in and say, I'm a preacher.
Yeah.
And why is that? What has happened?
Well, they've been traumatized, hurt, whatever. And as you know, we just go in there and it's Leo and Jeff.
Just do good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every time we've gone, I'd say 95% of the time we go, or 90-ish, there's no pastor that goes with us. It's just like, hey, we're here because, in my opinion, they actually, however you measure Christianity, whether church attendance, knowing the Bible, they got those boxes checked way better than we do. They just don't have the resources. So we just want to be that conduit, the source, whatever you want to call it, to give them the resources to empower themselves. Because as you've seen, in those regions, they're not freeloaders. They actually get mad because one time
it's the opposite.
Yeah, they want resources. They just want to be able to help themselves, which is great for me because I come from that world of empowering people versus just giving the constant handout.
Well, for me personally, there's a level of bliss that comes with it because I don't speak Spanish very well. I understand a little bit, but even then, it's Aztec before it makes its way to you in Spanish.
Yeah, Mayan.
Mayan. And so there's two levels. So I'm not going to know what's going on.
Yeah.
And so I will forever remember. I don't know why or how it began, but we just got in a car with Fausto and we went and picked up as many wheelchairs as the car would hold. And one of the stops that we made was a little boy that had not able to walk, but he had never been in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
And when we left and pulled away in the car, they are pushing him up and down that dirt road in that small village, and he grinning from ear to ear. I'll never forget that. And I thank you for that. I thank you for that opportunity.
It's priceless, and it makes you realize how much need there is, and then how it's gratifying, but also you see the gaps, right? So it's a double-edged sword of like, man, that's. You can't pay for that feeling. A lot of people search for... It
has nothing to do with the money.
At all, because as you saw, that deal didn't really cost us anything to be part of it, to get on the car for whatever that hour ride was.
And we as massive consumers that we are, we start thinking, well, how can I get crates and crates and cartons and cartons of brand new wheelchairs over here? And that's, as you mentioned, Miguel, that's not what they need. Mm-hmm. That's not what they want.
No.
They want you there to be a part of it.
Yeah, they can do with so much less than we can. And again, they've been around there for thousands of years, and then we think we're going to
come in and fix it.
Yeah. And we actually had somebody that said years ago that we took to this remote place in Guatemala where at the time no Americans had won, and we took a group of Americans, and he was like, "Oh, we can set up air conditioning and kitchen so they can start eating better." And I was like, look, they look better than us.
They're living longer than we are.
They've been around for thousands of years. They just need a few resources. They got it figured out, and then they're with their families all day. So some of the things that we think we're going over there to do better for them, they can't even grasp. Because I remember talking to one pastor, and he was asking about life in America, and you told him, your typical day, and he's like, "Oh man," he's like, "I come home for lunch and spend it with my family every day." He's with his family, and yet we're away from our families. And who's the winner there, right?
Right. I mean, the night before we left 𝗍𝗫, they decided the family's going to get together, which sounds like it was once a week, and it's 30. Yeah, I mean it's everybody, and there's no. Well, I'm not getting along with them. So
I was going to say there's no bickering, or he brought 2 Cokes. It's all natural ingredients, so they all bring the same.
So you mentioned gaps earlier. Is that what led to the foundation? And just tell us why the foundation. What's it for?
It's to create the gaps. You know, there's a lot of it's a twofold deal. You know, and there's the official. You know, you can see on the website, but the Leo version, 6th grade version is there's gaps in great organizations in Clarksville. 𝗍𝗫𝗃 is, you know, I always use as an example of we had kind of like our own little deal going on, where we kept stuff that we took on trips. And then Pastor Mike had introduced me to Sharon and said, hey, she can help you organize the stuff. She just needs some space. And they came in 1 week, organized that downstairs of the Leaf Chronicle building, like organized it like.
She is a machine.
She is. And then that day I figured it's like, all right, we're retiring from this and we're just going to support her. So it kind of stems from a couple organizations like that have a great business model, so to speak, almost if you're looking at it from a business point of view of like, you're not going to compete with them. Why not join forces with them? It doesn't matter who gets the credit. And if you really believe that. So I think there's a lot of nonprofits like that could either merge or work together, and you'd be able to do a lot of, not that we're doing, you know, we get a lot of credit sometimes for what's happened with 𝗍𝗃, but it's really Sherry and her team.
Absolutely.
That have done it. And as you know, since it's been replicated in Houston through a church that we knew, and you know, you've met them, Pastor Robert, Marco, and then it came through a friend of ours, Chris, that put us together. Again, there's another gentleman, Mark, with the warehouse over there that we met. They put it together. I just happen to know the people, right? So it'd be easy to say, oh man, look what I've done in Houston. But it's Sherry, her team, Pastor Robert, and them working together. Again, Pastor Robert had the great mindset of saying, like, I don't care if our church gets credit for it, call it 𝗍𝗃. And then now it's super, super successful to where we're looking now to replicate the 𝗍𝗃 in Mobile, Alabama, which we already have the people that want to do it. That's half the battle. The rest will be easy. We had the resources to do it, right? But you didn't have the Sherrys and her team, and that the people. It always goes back to people. The people are the ones that are going to do it.
So do you see, I mean, you got these nodes out there. You've got the Sherrys, you've got the Marcos, you got, you know, what's going on over there, got a warehouse over here. Do you see the foundation being kind of like a missing link, connecting all these nodes together?
That's really what it is. We want to empower other nonprofits. So in other words, if you're doing a certain thing and we can help you with grant writing, you know, as you know, when we did the foundation launch, we brought a lot of high caliber people in the nonprofit world to come and speak to the other nonprofits, and that's what we hope to do more of. So, for instance, no different than what the press does for businesses, that's what the Millan Foundation will do for nonprofits, and at the same time help the successful nonprofits that are already doing.
Do you also see it as a depository for someone wanting to just purely give money and turn around and walk away?
Yeah, we've had that happen, and a lot of it has been donor advised, kind of like the auction that we had. We had them to specific, so it's not like we're trying to like raise money. We do have some projects, and thank God we've always been able to fund those. But a lot of the funding will go to some of the other nonprofits. Almost 90% of it, other than the stuff that we might start up in the areas that we were already working. Most of it is always going to be to other nonprofits that are doing it well. So the other thing that we thought would do well is like just using you as an example. If you say, you know, I got $1,000 I want to give, but I don't know if this is legit. Well, or like you don't know where to put it. We can help you with that. And the good thing about us is like 100% of the money that we donate goes straight to the nonprofit of either your choice or the ones we work with. So we don't have the overhead, the percentage of the money that gets lost in overhead.
Because you hear horror stories about that. 60% of my dollar, 40% of my dollar, and you're saying 100% of the dollar, you guys are covering all the overhead costs.
Yeah, yes, sir. 100% goes because the people that are in our foundation either already work with us or are doing it voluntarily.
But I can't come to you and go, hey, here's $1,000, but I want it to go to this village over here in this country, because that may not be on your radar, or all that would do is create lots of additional work for you guys.
If we're there, possibly, or if it's enough, as you know, I'll do, Scott will go anywhere. He's like me, or some of the other team members, that if you said if it's enough need, we would do it. The only downside of that's come out of that is now we get a lot of people. We've always been asked, but now it's just great organizations. Again, there's so many great organizations in Clarksville, but at this present time, it might not fit our mission that we're doing currently. Because as you know, you can grab a map of the world to include the United States, get a dart, throw it, wherever it lands, there's some need. So we've just been a little bit intentional of trying to keep it more narrow on what we're doing now, and hopefully it'll grow.
Almost feels like you could, is your priority children? Is your priority, education? Almost like feels like you could just bullet point that.
Yeah.
So 10 years from now, what does the Millan Foundation look like? I'm giving you the magic wand again. So 10 years from right now, what does that foundation, what does it resemble? What does it look like?
I think what we're doing now, just on steroids, I think we'll have more staff, and then just working closer together with some of these nonprofits as they grow. Using the organization in Haiti that we work with, Emmanuel, that they got it figured out, right? They just need more resources. So they're big on kind of like our model, and that's why we've partnered with them. And another big part is obviously Carol that works with us. She's been a godsend, business-wise, but also as far as what she does in the nonprofit world, where they have this organization that's not just like a one-stop shop for one thing. It started with an orphanage, and then as the kids were aging out, they didn't have anywhere to put them, so it's turned into a complete resource for people aging out. Now there's stores. We're able to send kids to Cuba to become doctors, so they can hopefully go back to Haiti and treat in the same villages where they come from. So it's this recurring cycle of like, hey, we're handing out a bunch of fishing rods versus just having to load them up with fish all the time. So that model works really, really well, because it becomes almost self-sustained at some point in time.
So I'm asking you to break your humility code a little bit. I know that your screensaver, I guess I don't know I'm not technology like our children are, but the screensaver on your phone is the house that your mother grew up in. It's also, if I'm correct, a Millan Foundation logo. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's part of our logo. It's kind of have become like part of me. Hey, it started for like, hey, don't forget where you come from spiritually, but also secularly, financially, or in the business realm of like, this is one generation. My mom came here not speaking a lick of English, not a lot of hope other than to work hard. And that's the home, she was living in when she married my father. That was their home. It had another part, like those kitchens like you've seen. Most people wouldn't understand, like kind of like tin over that you cook outside. And so no plumbing. And I've always had that to remind myself, hey, where I should be kind of, or where I've come from through God's grace, but also to show what one person can do, or one family can do if you don't use that as an excuse.
That's a great perspective. You also, it's not the wallpaper, but it's the other thing on your phone. You've taken it upon yourself. Your family's taken it upon yourself. You and Lily to help out some children that have some specific needs. What are those?
Yeah, so it stemmed from having a conversation, and it came from a younger person. It was again, I mixed the both, but we're in a business meeting, and someone was complaining about like, hey, what if my supervisor or this or that? And then someone said, well, you need to take responsibility for your own self. You know, we can, again, using excuses of why things aren't happening. Where there was this little boy in Guatemala that I had met, Jesus, that had that basically born without an ear. And, you know, we were trying to get him help, but what I was really doing is just saying, hey, can you help this person? Like, doing no different than when people come and ask me, and if they don't get the help, they're like, well, I tried, right? And I got convicted instantly. For some reason, he came to mind, and then, so what I did is I had a picture of him, and I put it on my screensaver, and I said, I'm going to have to look at this thing every day until I get this kid some help. And that changed. Again, it's a new business model now where if you see something on my phone, it means that it has to happen, you know. And since then, there's been multiple pictures, and everything's come to happen, to include when our friend George wanted to dig a well. And we said, hey, we're going to dig a well. So I put one on my phone, and then now we're in the middle of doing 2 wells. To even joking around, you know, as you know, our good friend Mayor Durrett had not caught a tarpon fish in a long time, and we had our marketing team drop a picture of him reeling in a tarpon fish, and now it's come to pass. So I told him, finally, we got that picture
come to fruition. Right?
Yeah. So it's become almost like a deal just for me to say, like, hey, I can come up with excuses of why it's not happening, or I can just say, you know what, this is on you, buddy. Like, you figure it out. You can figure out all these other things. You're telling me you can't figure this out. We just make excuses, right? So it's the no excuse picture, I think, is what I've come to. I don't know what to call it, but it's almost like, this is on your list,
Here it
buddy.
is.
Yeah.
It's just like when I came to you and said, well, Leo, I just wish I knew Spanish. And you said, no, you don't.
Yeah.
If you did, you'd know it.
That's my other one. Now that I'm 50, be careful what you tell me, because I'm becoming more honest. And that's one of the ones where Spanish is the one that I get the most, right, because I speak Spanish. And then people say, you know,
I bet you hear it often.
Yeah, I wish I spoke Spanish. And then, you know, my answer is going to be, no, you actually don't. And then people, sometimes it's funny because they'll get almost like offended.
Right.
And then the next response is, all right, well, how many lessons are you taking? And then, you know, half will say, like,
well, I just wish I knew it. I don't have to take lessons, do I?
Yeah. And then it's like, well, half the people will say, well, you know what, you're right. I don't want to learn. Kind of like me. I've said that. Like, I want to do this. And it's like, yeah, no, you don't.
There's a component now that's not only the medical component we were speaking of just a moment ago, but you've now been around for long enough to see kids grow up and look for opportunities for education. You're now involved in an education component. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, through Scott, that, you know, we work together, and, you know, he has a big heart. Those of you that don't know him, he's been going to missions since he was 14. And he's actually one that I'll go back on the Spanish thing. That's I told him the same thing, but he's the only one that actually went back
and did it.
And now he's fluent. I think he speaks certain verbiage better than me in Spanish. But he's been going on missions since he was, I think, 14. And, you know, he was part of some school building and renovations. And again, they had already started that process, so we just tag teamed in support of them, and now we've been able to do additions to school, adding kitchens to schools that don't have it, just the education component to it, which obviously I'm a advocate of education, so that's a blessing to be able to help with those things as well.
But there's also individuals that you are putting. Yeah,
we're putting some younger ladies through school. In Cuba, so they can become doctors, and then hopefully go back to Haiti if allowable. As you know, Haiti, unfortunately, is going through a lot of bad turmoil right now. So the goal was to get them back so they can help their people out. Because
the want's there.
Yes, sir.
Without a doubt.
So we were able, again, through Carol and the Millan Foundation, that they have to be able to have that. Again, we would have had to go through a lot of legwork, whatever. Again, they already have the infrastructure set up to do it. So again, who cares who gets the credit? Send them to school, get it paid for, they go back and then they help people. At the end of the day, someone's getting help.
And it's generational because you don't know. We won't know what those young men and women go on to do.
Yeah, because just as an example, I know this statistic, which I don't know many, but I think for every 35,000 people, there's one doctor in Haiti, which is, I think, one of the worst ratios in the world. So are we going to like fix Haiti? Probably not, but we're going to make an attempt to do as much as we can.
What's next? Where do you see you and Lily putting your bandwidth over the next 12 months?
Man, that's a great question. I was not ready for it.
That's the whole point of this.
Oh, I know. Well, I think, as you know, we get pretty busy sometimes with work. So that's why we have someone like Tanya helping us, keep this thing going, because you can lose track, not sight or track of it, but you can get busy in our own thinking, well, I need to like take a step back because I'm too busy doing this. So she's been a godsend as far as keeping this train on the track. So honestly, with the help of people like her, we don't see a cap to it, if that's the word I'm looking. I think if we're going to do what we've always done, but I think depending on the community support and however people want to get involved is as far as it'll go. Because I already know what's going to happen on my end, and it's going to be really good. I think I'm kind of like reserved sometimes of what my goals are, because you have to be careful sometimes, because in my opinion, sometimes if you say, well, I'm going to do this, and it doesn't come to pass, people just knock on people's dreams, and my wife's dreams are our dreams, and we just rather show people what we can do. That's not the right answer sometimes, but that's our answer.
No,
just because there's a lot of, when we were doing the press, which I think it's been, again, I'm selfishly saying this has been a great success, but I see the businesses and the people that are here. Well, we were getting nothing but naysayers when we were going to build this, because it was during COVID. It wasn't going to work. It was a struggle to get certain things going. But now I see it as a great thing, and that's how I see the foundation. I mean, I'll be long gone, and it'll still be going.
You brought up, and I didn't even have that written down, but you brought up something that I'd like to talk about for a second, and that is the naysayers, because success brings out the naysayers. So how do you handle that?
I just don't listen.
Don't listen?
I actually, me personally, which you know me, and I'm not saying it, the more that happens, the more it feels me. People...
Is that your competitive nature, like, benefiting you greatly there?
Oh, yeah. Like, if you tell me, like, I can't do something.
You can't go in the Air Force.
Oh, yeah. That's how I ended up in the Air Force. And, as you know, there's some things I do now that is just like, why are you doing that? Or what I've gotten is people think it's just money, right? Like, because I'm in business, that everything I'm doing for money. It's like, well, lately I started playing pickleball. I was like, I know I'm not going to become a pro and get paid money, but I got challenged to do it. So next thing I know, I'm like, this person beats me, so I want to beat them. And I'm just competitive sometimes to a fault a little bit, but it's in my nature. So when we have people that are negative on what we're doing or say it's not going to work, I'm like, okay, now it's got to work, and we're going to excel at it.
So just using that as fuel.
Yeah.
So what have we missed today that you wanted to cover? I've got a list of about 100 things.
I know, yeah.
there might have to be a part 2.
I was nervous to come and do it because I don't feel like I do well in these things. And not to say I did, but the time has flown by.
Well, one of the hardest things for you is breaking through your humility shell, and it's a good thing. Don't ever stop that. Don't ever lose that humility shell, because it's powerful and it's who you are. So don't ever lose that. But that being said, Is there anything today that I haven't brought up that you would like for the listeners to know about you and Lily and your family or your journey to get here?
That even though we're doing this, maybe we're still flawed, and that if we've done anything, going back to the justice, right? The mercy and the grace, like we're not at the grace part, I don't believe, like ourselves. We're tinkering on the mercy side, so we would ask for that in return, because I think that's been one of the hardest things is we try new things, right? Whether it be business or the foundation or even with our family, right? Because it's easy to cast stones now, and I see it, and I mean, you know me, you can call me whatever. It really doesn't affect me, but when it affects my family, that's when I think it's a little bit different. So showing mercy that, hey, we are moving fast. We are trying to do things that might not be conventional. And that's the way I operate, kind of like you're discussing stress, because you're the same way. It's like, if someone says, hey, you want to do this? And you're like, okay, let's do it and we'll figure it out on the way. Well, I know as either the foundation or even our work team, as we get bigger, that's harder to do when you're bigger because people might not see the whole vision or goal, and then might think you're either crazy or like this isn't going to work. So for people in the community and people we work with and in the foundation, for them to like see the intent, right, maybe, and then show mercy would be the one thing that I think I would ask for.
Because to make these changes, you're having to be decisive. You're having to be decisive and make decisions, and sometimes there may be repercussions from those decisions or a long-term play that other people just don't see.
Yeah, or sometimes you're wrong, right?
Sometimes you're wrong, absolutely.
And I always use this. It's not I don't even know if it's an analogy. It's true. So I was E2 in the Air Force, and a decision comes from above, and I would think, like, this is the stupidest thing in the world. They don't care, they whatever. And now that we're fortunate to know, generals and colonels and people that are really high up, well, they care. Like, they actually care more than the E2 because they've made it a career. They love this country. And again, just using military, and to think, like, man, if someone could have explained that to me and me grasp it back then, I would have been like, hey, this might not be the best decision for Leo, but it's the best decision for the Army or the foundation or whether it be 𝗙𝗲 or it be the Millan Enterprises or whatever it is that if they could see that, and it'd also be a good tool for the younger people.
Well, thank you for your time, Leo. As I've said it before, you and Lily and your family and your entire team at Millan, y'all are writing an absolutely incredible book. It is amazing what y'all have done. Clarksville is absolutely blessed to have you. Thanks for taking your time to share about your life today, about your journey to get there, about your career, about what you and Lily are passionate about. And that's all I have. Y'all can join us next time, and we'll talk about did we really land on the moon or something?
Yeah.
Thanks, Leo.
Hey, thank you, sir. Really appreciate it.
Visit our website to stay up to date with everything going on at MillanFamilyFoundation.org. Thank you for listening to Millan Foundation Conversations. And until next time, do the next kind thing.